Welcome to the Bougie Black Brother Network. Good evening and welcome to Repo Rethink Politics, where we discuss any and everything and rethink the way we see our politics every day. I'm Michael, your bougie black brother, and my co-hosts here are CJ the DJ, Chaz. What's going on?
What's up? What's up? And if you're listening, I know I have a lot of aliases. You know, just work with me.
You got plenty of them.
Yeah. So you know, CJ the DJ, aka Sir Django, aka future president, aka whatever.
El Banco.
Oh yeah, El Banco. El Banco.
El Banco. And all the co-hosts, Eric Easy. What's going on, brother?
Yeah. So I'm just E. You know, I'm Easy.
It's just the capital E, right?
Yeah. Slick, but that's a whole nother nickname.
Yeah, that's.
Oh shit, Slick. What?
Yeah, that's high school nickname.
Michael.
You know,
Slick. Yeah.
it goes back.
He said high school. I thought he was gonna say like last week.
Nah, that's my alias. You know, my rap name. Nah, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, so we wanted to get together because there's just too much shit going on, and we wanted to stay as current as possible. But the top thing we wanted to get in before they closed out the government shutdown for the budget. And recently, what we just hearing was there just might be a deal. So any feedback on that? Because what I got was Pelosi was on the floor for 9 hours talking about immigrants and how this is totally fucked up and how we should be doing something about it. But then she exhausted herself and stepped down.
Well, what's the status on that? Because it didn't sound like the White House was might be down for it. I think it was a bipartisan deal that was discussed, but there was still question whether or not Trump and his team would actually sign it. You know, there's like three different parties, really. Almost, it's not even just the Republicans and Democrats. Yeah.
Yeah, so earlier, I think it was yesterday, I was reading that they put money into the budget for immigration, the military, and a couple of other things. And that was like slid in to say, we can do this, but we'll slide the immigration thing in. And the House said, okay. But I didn't hear much of anything coming out of the Senate. So that's where I was hoping they would shut it down. But, you know, like I said last, episode was, no, I think they're just going to give in. The Democrats are just going to choke because they have nothing to stand on, which is like really fucked up. Yeah, I know. That's what it is.
So, me seeing that, I was kind of like, for Pelosi anyway, it makes sense with California. Obviously, that's where a lot of migrants will go. I mean, California is just such a huge. It's almost like an outlier. I mean, well, not almost. It is. It's basically its own country in terms of just GDP, culture. So for her perspective, it's like, of course she's going to do that, just because. I mean, the Latin heritage is just huge.
But Texas is too, but
yeah, but that's Texas.
Democratic.
Yeah, Texas is on. Forget the Alamo is. Like besides Austin and maybe Houston, it's like I wouldn't want to really be in Texas like that. I gotta be. Yeah, look, I don't discriminate. I discriminate on two levels. I discriminate against guys who can't get women, and
no game.
And yeah. And I discriminate against certain regional nonsense. And I think what's going on is like, so you guys remember John Boehner? Like, he was from Ohio talking about this and that. And it's like, look, like, at the end of the day, what is Ohio really bringing to the table? Like, these politicians can talk about X, Y, and Z, but besides just this, it's just bipartisanship for the sake of just being partisan. Excuse
So,
me, partisan for the sake of being partisan.
but Ohio's a swing state. So no matter what, that guy, anybody coming out of the state of Ohio is one of the major swing states. So Ohio really gets a say in a lot of things. They may, throughout the year, they may not say much, but when it comes closer to election time, that is a major swing state.
I guess my point, what I'm thinking, and this, I need to see the data, but
Right.
for a lot of states, especially any state above, Tennessee, whatever,
Dixie line.
it's like, how are you really impacted by, immigrants on any level? I was just curious to look at the demographics, because I know Minnesota has, they have, which group, I want to say from a certain African country, is it Ethiopian population?
Ethiopian and Somali.
Yes, Somalian.
So it's really major in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and it's funny because they jump all the way over there. We got a big Somalian contingency down here in Georgia as well.
Okay, but
it's heavy up there.
To me it seems congregated. Like, I would love to visit those places and see, but I'll just say
Right.
for Atlanta, Georgia. For me, in my work history, I've never been impacted by immigration on that level. If anything, I'm impacted in terms of, like, for higher skilled people is Indian Americans or just Indian immigrants.
Or Asian.
Yeah, but those are like the high skilled people, and it's kind of like, can I really hate because I don't have my shit together? You know what I mean? So when go ahead.
Well, I know that in Northern Virginia, there's a lot of immigrants in that area, or just international cultures all over the place. From a lot of Ethiopians, a lot of Asians, Koreans. I mean, almost if you just name it, a lot of Middle Easterns in Northern Virginia. So, I mean, whether they're high skill, I mean, there's a lot of Indians that that I work with, that I'm sure you work with too, Chaz, that do a lot of tech work, and but
Right.
then the thing is, you got to think deeper. Then they have kids, and then you're dealing with the whole, I forget the word that we're not supposed to use the other word, but you got to protect them too, because Trump wants to kick them out as well. You know what I mean? So it gets so deep where it just, that kind of those kind of immigrants just get so, integrated into the population, where you have to hold that down. Like, you have to have somebody in the government that just has an answer for that. And you know, Republicans try to kick them out,
But so here's the thing. If you really look back, so kind of think back on election time. The election time, the big thing about immigrants were they were taking jobs. And then when they found out that they really wasn't taking
It's about
jobs,
crime.
then it was about crime.
All of a sudden.
So when they talking about it right now, he doesn't care about the Asian community. He doesn't really care about the Eastern European. He's more concerned with the border crossers and the Muslims.
Yeah.
Anybody that's Muslim is a terrorist. Anyone that's coming across the border are criminals. So what they did is, even though you're thinking, how's it affecting me? It really isn't, because you have that same African American that will shoot you down the street. There's the same white man that will shoot you down the street. But now that you have an immigrant, that's the highest that you need to really be. Get them out of the country and crime will go down. Yeah. No, that's ridiculous. If you get the Muslims out of the country, that means there's terrorist activity will stop. Well, we got a lot of prone terrorism going on right now that is prominent in our nation, but yet they're still focusing on crime from these two demographics. So if you switch it and people say, I get crime in my neighborhood, or I can see crime, I live in bumfuck Ohio, but
Right.
I see that it's going on in Cleveland, or I see that it's going on in what's the other one, Dayton. You know what I mean? So they're looking at it in that way and say it will affect me, so let's just get them out of here. Or they also see in certain areas that since the jobs are gone and they seeing I don't want to say Mexicans, but Latino people, they own in shops, they own in restaurants. I can own a restaurant. Bitch, you would have never owned a restaurant. They put the work in to do it.
Yeah.
You hoping just to make money and someone give you shit.
And
so he's preaching to those people like that.
So I want to make 2 points real quick. Well, E had his point, but first, when you talk about people who immigrate, is that the word I'm looking for? Who migrate? Not migrate. They're not birds. There's I think it's whatever the word I'm looking for. Like in order to make it in another country, you have to adjust. You have to be flexible. You have to have all of these. Your soft skills have to be really dope. You have to be savvy. So for one, I think it's just, again, and as an American, if you travel overseas, you understand to go to another place and make it, it's not easy. So when you think about the people who do come over here and who do make it, I'm not saying, you just can't generalize, but a lot of people, we're not getting the bottom of the barrel just based off of, and that's why you see a lot of entrepreneurship. You see a lot of this just because, hey, you got to hustle to move, to get the money. You got to just network. There's a lot of stuff you got to do.
Geez, though. You got the refugees coming in. Yeah, I mean, they literally don't really have much going on for them. They're trying to get out. Whether they have skills or not, maybe they don't. Those are like, what about those? You know what I mean? Like, you can't really discriminate. That's what the Democrats are kind of saying. Well, Republicans are, they're like, nah, you need to be able to, they need a merit-based system where you could just we have to be able to measure what your capabilities are, your skills are. And that's kind of the scary part, because how do you do that? Do you want to do that? And,
Yeah, and if, like, I haven't thought about it seriously, but I think I mentioned this on the past episode, but, like, a Black History Month, I'm James Baldwin. I want to read. I got to just go ahead and buy something on Kindle. But James Baldwin, if you don't know, African-American author. He was a gay dude back in the 1950s, 60s, whatever.
50s, 60s, yeah.
And he said, you know what? The United States is crazy. You know what I mean? And he was like, I'm going to move to France. And I always thought that I don't try to romanticize the idea of just, moving. But I think we talked about this before. Sometimes it's just frustrating dealing with the shit in the United States as a, minority. And I would just think, what if I say, I want to go to whatever country X. And they're like, all right, read this, do that. And I'm like, okay, I got to do all this shit in another language and, whatever the case. And I don't know how I would do. So
here's the problem with that. Because, even when I travel, I always ask, if I'm here, how much money are you making? I'm talking to the people native there. I was talking to people in Italy, and I was talking to people in Australia. So I'm going to go with Australia at first. You got migrants from everywhere just doing all the little jobs and any job that they can. But they only come in as temporary. So you got a lot of temporary labor. They stay there for a year, maybe 2 years. Then they're gone. And then they go back to their country and try to build back. But if it doesn't work, they come back to Australia. Italy and the European sector, we can't be entrepreneurs like we are here. They just don't allow it that way. They don't have the ability and their financial system to be as free as we can do. It just doesn't work that way with their system. So it's not Bitcoin, it's their system and the hierarchy within that, because they're saying, yeah, I'm going to have to get another job, but I'm going to Portugal because Portugal's taxes and everything there. I can't even get a house yet, and I can't get married because you can get married when you get a home. or I can't get this because of that. So there's some complexities, not just, to your point, romanticizing. Well, I'm in France, I'm in Florence, or I'm in all of these beautiful countries that all of these people went to. But if you really trying to build something outside like you would do here, it's kind of difficult. And so I found that out by just talking with them, because I just found it interesting. What if I do move? Just like I think we was talking about that, or no, I think he was talking with one of your friends on GroupMe about that. And that was just interesting to say, oh yeah, I live there and I travel there and it's good. But long term, you're not going to have the access like we have here.
Yeah, and I'm just more so just speaking into the, just the, what if other countries just reciprocate what we do? You know what I mean? What would that look like? What would that do to trade? Yeah, I don't know, but again, to E's point, to his latter point, which I forgot to address. On one hand, when you look at a lot of people in tech now, you do have those communities, and one thing that I just keep it real. I'm like, you have people who people who immigrate over, and they'll just they're doing well at these jobs, and I'm like, man, you have the people in the black community, like, man, we've been here. How you got like first generation people coming in, and it's like a community of them, and they're just building generational wealth. So and to E's point, I'm like, okay, they're gonna have kids. Their kids are gonna, they should, by all the variables and the stats, they should do well.
Right.
And then you just have like, okay, you're looking at a generation or two of succession of of doing well, versus you have native, quote unquote, black people, poor whites, whatever, what have you, and we're not. So in terms of like the control aspect of that, it's hard to say, because on one hand, how do you the employers, they're going to employ people who have the skill and people who they can pay, and on the other hand, if you don't have it, then where's the line on both sides? You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
No, I get it. I think the problem is, employers are looking to save money. So, I give you a quick example. We have professors and we have teachers from who are Bhutanese and Somalian, and it's another Arab country that just works at Marshall's, but they're working as just regular warehouse workers right now. Now, as they build their wealth just by saying, I need to have a 9-to-5 job and continue to go to school, my part-time time. And then once I finish that, then I can build my wealth with the skill set that I truly have, because none of that converts over. So you have a lot of that. You have a lot of these refugees who has high-level skills in their country, but that's not transferable here because we don't recognize it until you get one of our degrees. But they know, and they have the ethics to do that, the work ethics to do that. But I think on the other side, there's people who don't have any skills, but what they do have is a sense of community. So what they do is do all that work and come together and start creating as a group and as a community. So if they can get a small store or fruit market, they can build wealth within their own community. And a lot of different immigrants and refugees come over and do that on the smaller scale. But then you said, and I want to go back to what you said earlier too, E, you got black people and poor whites, like, how do they get the advantage and how do they that? Well, we got a systemic racism here, a class system here, when we have white superiority, even amongst whites, to say, you're trash, so I'm not going to give you the opportunity because you're just below that level. I'd rather take a Negro that is highly educated and pay him less than bring one of y'all nasty little white people in. And it's crazy because this is the type of country that we live
I
in.
wonder.
So
Yeah,
that's how,
and I was.
go ahead.
I wonder if I I wonder if it has to do with how immigrants come to the country, and they're just far more determined to build for their family. So it's just hard working, get a job, get money, provide for my family, because they're immigrants from into a whole new world, and that's like their mission. I don't know any uh, foreigners or immigrants at all. I mean, I'm not sure how it is down there in Georgia, but there's a lot that I ran into. Well, I'm sure
It's
all
a
around the
lot.
country too, where they're just working their ass off. Just, I mean, some of them have full-time jobs, and then they have a whole lawn service on the side, and then I got a guy that used
Mhm.
to. He just did everything around the house. He can knock out a pipe and put up drywall and then fix anything. He can even put in. He does mechanic work on your car, and he just does that 24/7. Not even 9 to 5, nonstop. I call him at 12 a.m. and he's coming to do it. And he's got a bunch of jobs, and then I know multiple people. He has a team of people that does that, and there's just so many people in Northern Virginia. I know immigrants, you know what I mean, that are just so like passionate and they just sweat
Right.
for their family. You know what I'm saying? And it's not the lazy privilege. They feel like, oh, they're too good for cutting grass. They're too good for sweating out the stuff that we don't want to do. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time,
Right.
the immigrants, they're getting money. They're working hard. You know what I mean? And I just wonder if there's a different mindset where over time, you got these. I don't want to call them lazy, but you can call them lazy. And they're not all white, but the majority are
Mhm.
the ones that are complaining about immigrants taking their jobs. Uh, they're the ones just not
Right.
working as hard. You know what I mean? That the passion isn't the same. One person's working hard than the other, and then over time, yeah, you're right. They're not gonna hire the lazy, the privileged person that just doesn't work as hard as the other guy. I mean, that's just the way it
It,
should work.
it's
Yeah.
entitlement, though.
Yeah.
That's a fair point. I mean, do you want the Ivy League entitled person, or do you want so and so from so and so who's gonna get the job done
Yeah,
and
and not
not
even
cause you
Ivy League.
problems?
You know what I
Well,
mean?
you want the less problem.
I'm talking like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Just the regular
Regular
people that
league.
just they feel like they can just walk in and find a job. You know what I mean? They could just apply when they feel like it, and be picky. You know?
And they
Yeah, yeah,
should
yeah,
get the job.
So so what I'm saying is like, is this Nancy Pelosi making the speech again? Like for her, Cali,
hmm
obviously high migrant state, but in general, I mean, it's kind of I haven't really been that engaged in the immigration debate just on a deep level, just because I'm like, how I feel like it's more. I mean, it's more political than I think it
Yeah.
is, and you make the point.
hmm
At first, when you're on the stump, yeah, it's about, oh, Mexicans are rapists and this, and then they're taking jobs and blah blah blah, and like, well,
yeah,
now it's like safety. I'm not saying people, like one. Is
yeah,
this just the like Trump was talking shit about players kneeling the whole season? Now he wants to, like put this guy on the pedestal, like, he was killed by a immigrant. Like, if he was killed by a regular dude, he wouldn't give a
No.
fuck. You know what
He's
I mean?
politicizing things
yeah,
that
yeah.
comes
But
about.
he's making it sound like they're dangerous people. Well, they're dangerous people. Um, I feel like it shifted. I feel like they used to be lazy. Like it used to be they're just taking up the population and the lazy people. Then it kind of shifted. Yeah,
Oh,
I don't. The government
welfare.
doesn't need
Yeah,
to
getting
support
getting
them or pay
welfare.
money or wasting our money. And
Yeah.
now they're criminals.
Now they're criminals.
They're dangerous.
So
It's like,
it's
damn.
what's ever popular. Yeah, it's the popular catchy phrase. It's kind of like, so they not saying they taking our jobs because jobs are plentiful for everyone now. The unemployment rate is low. No, so
Well,
this is what they.
well,
This is not
well.
reality. Come on, Chaz. We're not saying reality. We saying what's being said and promoted to the naive.
But Mike, that's what you just said makes me think about the other thing I want to talk about, which was the market volatility going on, and I was just curious to get you guys' take on that because I'm like, what's going on? So a month ago we had the tax
Right.
cuts, right? And tax cuts were like, okay, gonna create jobs, companies gonna have more money, this and that, and now we're seeing this sudden, which I think, my take is we may see a market correction. And a market correction is when something is overvalued and then the market has more information and says, okay, I think this really should be valued at X instead of Y. So if something is worth $10, the market may price it at
Right.
7. But that's a 30% loss if you have that in your
But,
portfolio.
but here's the problem
And-
with that. When it first came
Yeah.
out, it was only $5. Then it got
Because
to
Trump.
$10. So what you see, if you looking at is what you're saying is absolutely right. This is a market correction. Because if you looked at the last couple of probably last 2 months or so, it was record highs with the stock market, and it was sustaining that, and that didn't. You can't do that. What they were trying to promote and say it's going to get higher. It was higher than it's ever been. So how would it continue to get high? And they wanted to say because of the tax rates and we got more money that can be spent, that it's going to continue on. No, the market still wants to be stable. The market does not want to stay too low or too high. But it was too high. So now that is getting low, it's correcting itself to be at the medium. To your point, we were sitting at 5. We jumped to 10, but we need to be at an average of 7. So if everyone understands that if you actually investing your money in the stock market, one way or another, whether it's your 401k or anything else, it's going to correct itself. And I had to explain that to my wife and a couple of other people when they said, I don't think so. I said, well, let me explain you why. When Bush left office and everybody's 401ks just went to the ground and smashed, I just adjusted slightly and left it alone, and it recovered everything back.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
people
yeah.
don't think that way because it's
Now,
about just
Mike.
jumping to say, I lost money, I better take my money out and try something else.
Now, politically, should we give Trump credit for the 2017 run?
No, because if you look at it, and this is because I'm listening to a lot of the financial shows as well as a couple of the people with commentating about it.
Like his tax
No, that
policy,
had nothing
his
to
any of
do
his
with it.
policies.
That was everything that Obama had in place.
Oh.
So a law that starts this year, probably you won't get anything really out of it until the next 2 or 3 years down the line. It's not immediate.
I gotta play devil's
Nothing
advocate.
that you put
I gotta
out
play.
immediately now will be an immediate effect. What you was saying? I'm sorry.
No, I got to play devil's advocate.
No. I get you, and you should, because there's so many people who think that way. Like, no, Bush did it as soon as he did the tax. No, nothing is that immediate. Just because you think that you can go get a hamburger when you want a hamburger and it's made within less than 5 minutes, you think the stock market works that way. You think bills work that way. You think all of this stuff works in a certain way that's that immediate. No. These bills and all of these investments are put up so within the time frame that they see it will mature, that's when it gets in. These are all Obama's initiatives. And even though he's taking away a lot of different ones, they will never take away the financial gain things that Obama. And he's saying anytime there's a plus, I'm for it. Because when the market was up, he said I was for it. But when the market dropped, he didn't say a goddamn thing. Because it had nothing to do with him. Because he's not going to say that wasn't mine. And when they question him, he just didn't say a goddamn thing.
He's been
like,
hyping
"I'm not
up
saying
the stock
Literally.
market, the economy, for the last year. His whole first year, everything was, like, oh, everything is great. It's the record highs, but all it was just the momentum has started the last previous 8 years. It's been going up. It's been going up slowly, but it's been going up. And then the more he talked about it, it just built that confidence that Wall Street was listening. It's obviously he's all about business. He's all about government helping businesses, and the tax cuts was proof of that. They got that through. So it was. Yeah, I mean, it was proof that
I guess
you're obviously the companies were going to get money, and you should invest in this country. You should invest in businesses in the country. So it was always going to go up, and it was always going to go up because Obama, obviously. But then he used that, and then it was like, yeah, everything is great. So all you need is that confidence, man. And then I think, yeah, it's like you said. Eventually, it just corrected itself. Yeah.
Look, I think just looking at history, I'm just thinking of the last two. Well, no, it wasn't under George Herschel Walker Bush, but Reagan, the Reagan tax cuts, and then, well, I guess I started under Jimmy Carter. So the question is, with George W. and then Reagan, how did the tax cuts impact the economy? Did it really work? Or, because I think I heard one person say, we give the president too much credit and too much criticism for the economy when they can only do so much in reality.
So, yeah.
I mean, I hate when that.
So what? You
everything right now is his fault, man. Just if you're gonna, I don't know. I know that's not exactly what you were talking about, but I just feel like the whole blaming thing. He's trying to claim, everything that's going on. What I'm saying is that the conversation should change right now after that drop. Right now, the stock market dropped so far, and he's not saying a damn word. He's got to own that. And deep down, I want it to keep going, but it still affects my 401k and my stock investment. So I don't want it to do that. I want it to correct itself, even though we lost all our money from last month. But it'll fix itself. It's just, I'm just saying, he can talk all that talk, but you got to back it up over time, and that's what's happening right now. Now he has to actually, fix it. Yeah.
Do something. Yeah. Or he's just going to wait like he normally does. Let's wait on the next positive news spin.
Yeah, he just can't. But when it comes to the the market is bigger than just the economy. I mean, it's a sign of what the economy is. But it's not all of it. There's still consumer confidence. Are people buying things? Do people have the money to buy things? Are companies hiring people? Do companies have enough money? Are companies spending the money? Are foreign or international companies investing in our companies? Are we bringing in more? It's a whole thing. And then the president moves that discussion. I'm trying to tell you that the confidence in what the American brand is what a lot of that has to do with it. And when Trump's hyping up what this country brings and how the stock market's at record highs, and it's because of me, because I'm Trump and this country is great, make America great. And I'm like, okay, great, all right, whatever, keep talking. You didn't really do this, so let me see what you can do, and you don't really have that evidence right now. And I'm wondering what he's going to do about that, long term.
So the only evidence he has is this tax bill. And what people fail to say, it did something. Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Can we agree on that? Yes, it did. The problem is, if I give you, a $50 raise, right? I give you, Chaz, a $75 raise. But since I make the most money, I get a $20,000 raise. That's not helping everybody. That's still giving to the people who's controlling the money. But they don't look at it that way. They say, well, you got something. No, it's not about that. It's the new tax bill should have been an equitable thing to say, how do you help the economy? How do you help the working poor? How do you help the middle class to sustain the market? Because you're exactly right. What sustains the market is people who buy, and the most people who buy is the middle class. They buy stocks, they buy retail, they buy automobiles, they buy homes. They consistently turn over things consistently. But I'm going to go back to the Ronald Reagan thing. Ronald Reagan actually raised the taxes on the rich. And then when who came behind Reagan? I forget who came behind him, but it slowly started saying, "Stop, change the tax bill. We charging them too much," and it stopped going lower and lower and lower, and their bonuses and everything got higher and higher and higher. So when the tax bill went in, and they said, "Well, we have to find a way to start getting more money into the government, so we can start paying for shit that we just, writing blank checks and just printing money," that just doesn't work. And there's bills that takes away from here and there. So is the president doing it? No, he signs the bill to say, yes, this is okay. But does he initiate it? No, he don't fucking do that. That's Congress jobs. And he thinks since he's the king, he should be saying whatever I say is going to change the market and the economy. And when he said he wanted to change the economy and keep jobs in America, it still went to Mexico. And then when Walmart raised the minimum wage, they was like, "See, I did that," but they didn't see that they closed up. Fucking,
and they were doing that before him too. By the way,
clubs.
They were planning on doing that at the end of Obama's term. So,
and see, they just held out.
Yeah.
So it was a plan that was already in place that had nothing to do with his tax, bill and everything. So people don't read, and people aren't really being critical. I'm smart enough to say, yeah, the tax bill did well for some people, but it did a lot better for others. A fucking lot better. So why would you make a bill to benefit the people that really didn't need the benefit, but turn around and just say, because I'm giving you crumbs, you should be grateful? So that's what that bill was.
Right. Well, if you want to play devil's advocate, if I'm getting an extra $50 a month, then that's groceries.
Yes.
Well, not like full family groceries.
Yeah, that's 2 days groceries.
A couple of Chipotle's
groceries.
Per week, you know what I mean? You can take lunch breaks out of that.
Yeah, no, I feel you. It's extra.
Why do
it's extra disposable income at the end of the day?
Additional $1 million.
Oh no, yeah, the percentages are way off. The ratios are crazy.
The ratios, absolutely.
I mean, you got
and that's what bothers me. So to that point, it's I get it. I can't debate it that it wasn't something that changed to the better, but it changed for the better for other people more than the people that they was promoting it for. Oh, you're gonna get a lot more money in your check. Not a lot more, but I got more, so I'm okay with getting more. But you really hooked up your boys, though. That you really did that.
Yeah.
But anywho, I wanted to slide into the memo that slid out by yeah.
Dooms. All right, so let me just for analogy, if you haven't been following this, let's say let's do like a goofy rap example. Remember, I think
a goofy rap.
Yeah, rap example, like Gucci. I think Gucci was when Gucci was in jail. So let's say I'm an investigation committee to say I think so. I'm Fran Gucci, right? And then I'm like, you know what? I quit the investigation committee, and then I write a memo talking about, you know what? I think, I think the police are dirty. I'm like, wait a minute, we still doing the investigation. What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, how am I helping anybody in that situation?
You're being biased. But you're being biased.
Clearly.
Yeah.
I know it's a goofy example, but it's kind of that's.
So the memo came from a Republican intelligence committee head, and it wasn't like, oh, this is some stuff that got researched and it went aligned with the investigation. It was, to your point, I was observing some things and I came to some conclusions. That's what the memo is.
Yeah.
I did some observations and I came to a conclusion based on what I felt was bias.
It's almost like what if Seinfeld wrote a memo? What's the deal with, you know what I'm saying? Then that's the memo. It's like, get your ass out of here.
I just don't get how you
need
just
your observational shit right now. You know what I'm saying?
Because they recused them, right? So it's like, you kick him out, and then all of a sudden he's got a story to tell that has to do with the investigation, but then it doesn't because it's like you're trying to put blame on somebody that's part of the investigation. It's just so I know what you're saying, Chaz. It's like, and then he's the head of the committee. On top of that, right on the Republican committee, it's confusing. It,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's just doesn't that prove that Trump had somebody on the inside feeding him information? To me, it just makes him look bad. It makes the entire situation is just like why wouldn't you just snitch on him immediately if you're innocent? Like, hey, this guy is trying to give me information. No, I'm not gonna be part of it.
But the thing is, it doesn't touch Trump because they don't see it that way. It's not being promoted. I mean, I was looking at Bill Maher, and they said the problem is all you need is a piece of paper and tell people what's in it. It doesn't necessarily
No,
mean it
Mike,
has to be in it. So you lift the paper up, and he had an example. You can go to any of these doctors that prescribes, hey, I got a problem, I need marijuana. And they go, got it. And you can go somewhere and say, hey, I got the paper. Yep, you do. That's it. They got this memo and say, see, I told you, they're biased. I got the paper right here. And some people's like, it doesn't say that. Nope, yes, it does. I got the paper right here. And idiots say, well, he do got the memo. Did you fucking read the memo? Well, he said it was, did you read the memo? No, but he's, and that's what the problem with people who don't read. Because if you read, you'd be like, wait a minute, what does this have to do with anything? I don't understand why this memo is so important. Yeah, exactly. That's why we were saying why you release it.
I wanted to just make a quick point because last episode you went on the Democrats pretty hard about being pussies and some bullshit. I'm like, one thing I do like about the Republicans is they at least figured out you have to have decent control of the media machine, and they do that pretty well. I give them credit.
Yes,
and on the Democratic side, the liberal side, so remember last episode we talked about besides Obama, who from the Democratic side would you want to hear talk?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's like, it's crickets. And Bill Maher is just. It's not that I have mixed feelings about him, but I'm just I'm like, ugh, you know what I mean? So, in terms of pushing the other agenda of the memo, some bullshit and this and that, I don't think that's going to be terribly effective. And again, I know a lot of news situations and people have talked about on the technology side algorithms that basically say we want to keep you using our shit. So we're gonna, if you like this, well, we're just gonna keep giving you biased information because that's gonna keep you watching YouTube videos, clicking Facebook links, or doing whatever. So
that's the way. You just the spin room or whatever. They just make up some hot story out and like circulate.
So, I mean, morally, would you rather just say Democrats say this what's going on right now is crazy, so we're just gonna make up our own fake news to counter their fake news?
Well, they won't do that. They don't.
No, that's dumb.
Well, yeah, it was also dumb, but they wouldn't do that just because. Well, I don't think they know how to. You don't lie, first of all. So number one, obviously they wouldn't lie, but at the same time, they're not. I don't think they're clever. Isn't the word, but creative enough to come up with something that can.
Yeah,
conniving.
That's a good word.
Because I don't think because they want to be truthful and they're all like book smart, so they don't.
But the memo is gonna persist. But the memo is gonna be like, "Oh, that's truth."
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, because of the ignorance, though.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's based on ignorance.
Right.
So they actually touted this memo about a week or two before they released it. So they built up momentum. It was just like a trailer. When you have a trailer, movies coming out, hey, here's what you call it. The critics say, and blah, blah, blah. And they was building it up. And when it got out, it really was like a whimper. But I compare it to what you were saying in the previous episode is we can't stop revealing stuff because it has to be a bunch of things, not just the one smoking gun. If you can continue to say he did this wrong, show it. He did this wrong, show it. They doing the same thing. If we continue to say they're biased, oh, here's something that's biased. Oh, that was bullshit. Okay, let's try another one. This is biased. Oh, wait a minute, that's bullshit too. Okay, this is biased. And then when it's time to talk about it, they can go back to 5 things that you have to go back and say, but wait a minute, I could have sworn I told you that was fucked up. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. Well, what about this one? Wait a minute. And now you got to think about, damn, did I say that was wrong or not? But they already built enough things to say, look, I put it out there so it'll just trigger people to say, yeah, I do remember that. So it's that shell game to say, if I continue to get you to play this game, you'll never know where the P is. So I'm going to say, play the game, because I'm going to keep hiding shit from you. And then you're going to be fooled every other game.
What's that saying when you're arguing with a fool or an idiot, and you both look like an idiot or whatever? I forget that saying.
Yeah, and then you wind up being an idiot as well. Yeah. When you argue with a fool, you become I don't.
Yeah, but that's kind of that's what it looks like. The Democrats are it's like they play into the Republicans' hands every single time they come out with lies or they come out with something foolish, and they just play right into it, man. They're just not they're not creative enough to come back or witty enough, you know. Something that what's his name had that guy that had the sexual mixed the SNL former SNL dude that got kicked out.
Franken.
Oh,
he had a little bit of that, or or even Obama had a little bit of wit that could come back at stuff. There's just I don't know anybody right now that's the Republican that was savvy enough to respond and put.
Yeah, but Republicans aren't savvy.
That's what I'm saying. No.
It's Tom and Jerry.
Right. No, I don't mean like that. I mean, because you're right, they're not. But what I'm saying is first of all, they're lying. They're idiots, and they're putting it out on display. Maybe not all of them. Right, but you have to counter that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to counter with the same thing. You have to be able to respond.
All right, so E, check this out. I have a spaceship to Mars. And I have a house on Mars. And you know what I just ate for dinner? I ate whale meat. Right. What's your response?
Exactly. I can't believe you're making this up. There's nobody lives on Mars. That's what the Democrats do.
Well, I have a ship. You haven't seen it. I have the best ship.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but all that effort to say that you're wrong is what's killing the Democratic Party. Actually, it's killing people like us because we have to justify lies that are ridiculous.
That's fair.
We put more effort in saying you're wrong because you're lying than you're wrong on a topic that can go either way. I don't mind being. You know what? You may be right with this. As a Republican, I have to say, you're right, but under the circumstances, you got to take this in consideration. But when they saying stupid shit like this is a smoking gun, and I'm telling you, all the Democrats will be killed in the next 6 months. What the fuck are you talking about? Did you read the memo? But the memo doesn't say that. Did you read the memo though?
Believe it, though.
No, I didn't read all of it. See, that's the problem. If you read all of it, you know everyone will die. And you're like, are you kidding me? And then you read the whole memo, and then they moved on to the next subject.
Yeah.
That's
what's
you know what? You don't
up.
even have to say a memo. It's just blank, and then that's the story next week.
Yep.
That's all it is. It's North Korea.
A blank. They just send you a
blank.
a blank PDF.
Yeah. The problem is, it's just Democrats. They respond. Sometimes they don't even respond at all. They just let the Republican.
No. They go into
and then all that's happened is you just see Republican after Republican after Republican on TV saying the same thing. Release the memo. This is what's in the memo. This is why Trump is awesome, or some bullshit that they say. It just continues, and then eventually the Democrats catch up, and then they either sound like they're complaining or they're like overcorrecting by saying a bunch of truths, which is good, but it's like, okay, great. you corrected it, but you still have people that believe them. So it's like, are you going to do anything about that? Are you, because we're right back to where we started. You know what I'm saying? You're not changing anything.
Right. But did you hear Schumer though? Schumer got on the news after Trump said, "Oh, I hope they shut this down. I want this to shut down." And the Republicans came on and said, "You know what? If these Democrats don't get it right, they're going to have to take the blame for that." Schumer said, "I'm not going to justify that with an answer."
Yeah.
So you know what that looks like? You don't have an answer,
Yeah.
and you're a weak bitch.
Right.
That's
I agree
what
with
that
that.
looked like. President said one thing, the Republican said it's your fault, and your ass ain't got nothing to say. You shouldn't say nothing because it was stupid. But when you don't say anything, you stay in the same position you was in, what people see you as, weak and not capable of fucking leading.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the mindset that a lot of Democrats are lacking is they're afraid of losing their job. I think they just need to be straight up and not care. Because if you just stay true to what you believe in. Like obviously you want immigrants
Right.
to succeed in this country and be allowed in, but we want some security. So obviously you need to I don't know the word, but you need to make sure that you get the right people to come into the country. But at the same time,
Right.
you want to be in open arms. I'm just talking about immigrants. And then, of course, you got,
Right.
you want these different government agencies to be, you know, to be, to do the right things. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying everyone's policies, everyone's philosophies or mindsets on how they want the government to be run. Just be true to yourself. And then if someone comes in the room and says that you're wrong, be like, like you can't tell me I'm wrong. This is what the people are saying. This is what I believe. You can't just come into the room and then just shut me up because you know what I'm saying? Because that like keep saying that. Like for instance, if you want forget the government shutting down, that's a result of bullshit happening. You know what I'm saying? So just straight up, just say,
Yep.
look, I want these immigrants to succeed. A wall isn't gonna do anything to help. And if we make the government shut down, what the fuck are you doing to help these immigrants? And why do you keep saying illegal immigrants? We're talking about all immigrants. And if you want to stop illegal immigrants, let's be smarter than a wall. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just say that shit. Like, I'm a fucking, I have nothing to do with politics, man. And this is what I'm saying. And if I ever heard someone say that on TV, I'm voting for them. But I'm not hearing anybody say that. Everybody's just saying a bunch of the same
Right.
old. And what is Nancy Pelosi doing? Like the 8 to 9 hour uh, filibuster.
So
The
What did that
filibuster.
succeed?
the
What did that do?
filibuster. But here's the problem. They haven't been doing it. So the one time you do it, people like, yeah, whatever. But if you've been doing that and saying, you know what, Buster, everything that they put out there, let's just do it just for the hell of it. Because let people know that we are standing against this shit. Not just talking about standing against it, but doing
That's
something.
what you think that was.
But I think
Filibuster.
with Pelosi, they should have been doing that as soon as he got elected. They should have done it all 2017. Every
agree.
time something came up, filibuster that bitch for 9 to 10 hours. And somebody come behind
I'm with
it,
you.
do it. Just do that
I'm with
shit.
you. Yeah.
But the problem is, you said they worried about their job. I don't think they're worried about their job. They're worrying about losing the moral high ground because liberals and Democrats says I'm better than them. So if I steep to their role, people are going to see us as just as bad as them. No, they won't. They see you as standing up for the people. But you think that if I stay morally higher than them, things will get better. Well, shit ain't getting better. That's the worst part. Donna Brazile said on when I was listening to her, we got about 15 people that's going to go against Trump. And they said, who? Name one. I don't need to name one. No, just name one. Give me a couple. Name one. She didn't want to do it. You know why? Because we don't fucking have one. If we had a couple, just like we said last episode, she would have said, what about blah, blah? What about blah, blah? What about blah and him and him and him? She couldn't even do it. 4 years ago, you would have had plenty of people that she would have came right off her top 5. She would have gave it to him.
Yeah,
But she couldn't because we don't have the confidence in the Democrats right now.
yeah. I mean,
That's
because
frustrating.
I don't know. I still think a lot of it has to do with them just afraid to lose their position. I really think. I think the baseline is they straight up
And
don't. They want to have a moral compass and do what's right for the country. That's
Yup.
the base. That's the standard. That's what they want to stay
Yup.
at. But then when the Republicans take it to another level, they don't want to take it to another level. They don't want to start a shutdown. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't want to go that far or
Mhm.
curse on TV and be like, man, it's some fucking bullshit. Like none of that. They're not gonna do that because they want to keep their job. That's it.
I feel like I, f- I feel like E would vote for
No,
like
Bernie's
90 Suge
Bernie. I
Knight.
would do Bernie, but Bernie, I don't know. I'm not seeing him enough on TV, but but Bernie,
That's Bernie. Bernie is not in the national light.
we need more
Yeah,
Bernie.
you're right. He's not national like he
Yeah,
used
but
to be.
No, yeah, he needs money to be able to show up and speak.
No, Bernie needs to drop out of his seat, in my opinion, and take over DNC leadership,
chairman?
Democratic. What is it?
The
National
DNC?
or whatever the political machine is,
Yeah,
quote
the
unquote.
DNC.
Yeah, I would just all he needs to do is not run it, but appoint, hyper liberal people, and I think he's
So
good.
we need one of those money pack people to say, let's throw our money into these people that's going to do well for us. And I may be wrong, and you're going to throw your TV out the window though, Chaz. But it's going to be a fucking movie star,
Celebrity.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to Repo Rethink Politics, and return for our second half discussion when we talk about media, the State of the Union, and miscellaneous other government shenanigans.